Four Nigerians were involved in Tuesday's match day 2 of the Champions League playoff. Only one went through to the knockout stage. Ademola Lookman came back from injury and in the second half he got into the game. 30 seconds on his return, got on the score sheet for Atalanta, missed a penalty also. Unfortunately, Atalanta lost 3-1 against Club Brugge and were knocked out of the Champions League, losing on aggregate 5-2 to Rafael Onyedika's Club Brugge. Rafael Onyedika's Club Brugge is now into the knockout stage of the Champions League. George Ilenikena came on in the second half for Monaco, scored in the 81st minute against Benfica, and it ended 3-all draw, and it wasn't enough. Benfica went through to the knockout stage with a 4-3 win against Monaco. Samuel Chukwueze came on in the 83rd minute, couldn't find the score sheet. AC Milan drew that game 1-all against Feyenoord, and on aggregate lost to Feyenoord 2-1, and AC Milan are out of the Champions League. Rafael Onyedika had an impressive game, picked up a yellow card. It's normal for a defensive midfielder. Unfortunately, Ademola Lookman, heartbreaking to see Atlanta go out of the Champions League at this stage. They had a good group stage. Unfortunately, couldn't make it to the knockout, had to play the playoff. Disappointing one for Atlanta. Atlanta have got just one win in their last 7 games. One of the reasons they've suffered lately is because of Ademola Lookman, who has been out on injury, failed to get a win in the first leg against Club Brugge and losing at home. Even Ademola Lookman coming on in the second half just got one goal for them, and he couldn't help them do a comeback, instead missing a penalty he shouldn't have taken. His teammate Matthew Retegui tried to take the penalty off him, but Ademola Lookman insisted and missed the penalty. And there's this quote going around. It was originally shared by Fabrizio Romano, tagged to have come from Atlanta's manager Gasperini, and in the quotes, Gasperini says Ademola Lookman is the worst penalty taker he has ever seen, and he completely threw Lookman under the bus. If this quote is real, I don't want to believe this came from Gasperini, but if this happened to be true, then it's really bad throwing your best player in the last 2 seasons under the bus. The man that single-handedly gave Atlanta the Europa Cup trophy last season. But I don't want to believe these quotes are real, because why throw Lookman under the bus? In the group stage, when Matteo Retegui missed a penalty against Arsenal, which would have seen them qualify straight for the knockout stages, he did throw him under the bus. Why throw Lookman, your best player, under the bus at this moment? Because if you look at some of the other players, we got Charles, who played the whole game, couldn't get a goal, and Lookman gave you something to fight for in the game, and you're throwing him under the bus. If it's blaming Lookman, then Italian managers are never beating the allegations. I don't want to come straight at it, but they're never beating the allegations. Why blame Lookman? Same guy who gave you a goal and something to fight for in the game when you were trailing, and you're blaming him for losing this game, calling him the worst penalty taker you've ever seen. I don't think it's right for a manager to make such statements, and those statements are, you're directing it at your best player. If this quote is real, then it's very, very bad for Gasperini throwing Lookman under the bus. But moving on from Lookman, kudos to Onyedika's Club Brugge for qualifying for the knockout stage. And unfortunately, George Ilenikena is a player we've always talked about on this channel. He couldn't help Monaco get through to the knockout stage. He scored back-to-back goals, scored in the league and now in the Champions League, always up there. Even though he comes from the bench most times, he always steps up for Monaco. Time will tell if we will see George Ilenikena in Super Eagles colours soon. Samuel Chukwueze, on the other hand, came up in the 83rd minute, couldn't do anything for AC Milan. AC Milan yet again are out of the Champions League. Moving away from the Champions League, let's talk about some Nigerian players who are currently in top form and who also scored in the last weekend. The last weekend, I already made a comprehensive video about players who scored last weekend, but I'll still want to talk about some players who are really in top shape, and it's about time they're given a spot. Tolu Arokodare, he now has 15 goals and 5 assists. That is 20 goals involvement this season alone for Jack, and he has never gotten a call up for the Super Eagles. Eric Chell must be thinking really deep. I know we've got an array of strikers currently for the Super Eagles, but it's also time we get new faces in the Super Eagles. For a player like Tolu Arokodare, I think it's a bit unfair if he doesn't make the call up list, because scoring this number of goals in Europe and not making the colored list, I think it's very unfair. It's going to be really unfair. The only player in Europe who has more goal involvement than Tolu this season is of course Desas and Osimhen. So in as much as Eric Chels tries to select the players we know who always make the list, he should try to mix it up with new faces so that the World Cup qualifiers, the Super Eagles can get wins in the World Cup qualifiers. So guys, that will be all for now. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about Gasperini's said supposed statements on Ademola Lookman after getting knocked out by Club Brugge, if that is true? But I'd like to hear your thoughts about that in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, and of course we also subscribe on this channel. Subscribe and help us reach 10,000 subscribers. So guys, I'll be here after the next round of Champions League game, and of course at the end of the week, to talk more on Nigerian players in Europe. So guys, and if the call up list comes up sooner than later, I'll also be here to talk about it. So guys, see you in the next one. Cheers.